All right, well, welcome. I'm your guy, Ben McGee. And for you guys here in person, thank you for coming. It's good to interact with human beings for a change. I have made a conscious decision that it's difficult to read people's mouths and words when they have masks on. We are more than 6 feet apart right here. And while I am teaching, that's what I'm going to be doing. Is I'm not going to be wearing a mask, but there we go. So for you guys that are online, thank you for joining us. We have a good crew here. I think I've met a few of you online before, and I'm going to be recording this entire thing. So we typically will publish the classes after they're edited, but what we have been doing for the class that we're running in the evenings right now is we've been putting it up raw on our website. So if you guys want to see it or you need to review something, then there'll be a place for you to do that up there, and I'll send that out. So you will have homework every day while we're doing this. And if you have taken a class with me before, then you know that the homework is no joke. We will cover quite a bit throughout the week, but there is a nice chunk that you're going to have to do on your own as well. So I would ask that you commit to it and make sure that you tell your significant others that you have decided to pass the CISSP. And in order to do that, unfortunately, some chores are going to suffer over the next couple of weeks. And I know that at least in my household, that's a pretty big deal. So I do understand the gravity for some of you guys to make this type of commitment. But just keep that in mind that we are gonna be having a lot of fun throughout the week, but also there's going to be a lot of great content that we're going to be talking about. So I've been in the business for a little bit over 20 years now. I graduated from the University of Florida in 1998. You should be able to compute my age if you really wanted to. You'd probably even find my birthday out there somewhere if you wanted to. I've been lucky enough to have some pretty great mentors throughout the years. I started off doing, they called me a master cartographer. Whether or not that was actually true, I don't know, but pretty good with maps. And my original degree was in GIS, and became an expert in ArcInfo, and at the time, programming in Visual Basic and interfacing applications in Visual Basic. From there, I went into what I think was a divine intervention. I got a job at a financial company called Raymond James Financial down in the Carillon complex of St. Petersburg, Florida, and stayed there for a number of years. I was able to get my CISSP, and then transformed and rolled out for more money to a healthcare provider. So I was able to have some finance experience and then gain some healthcare exposure. And then somebody gave me a call and said that NASA at the Marshall Space Flight Center needed some assistance with something that I'm an expert in. And so I took a leap of faith here 15 years ago now, that my wife and I have lived up here in the Hunts Vegas area, 15 years. We still have majority of our family down in the Tampa, St. Petersburg, Clearwater area, and have some folks working for us down there as well. So it's an eclectic background of herbs and spices that starts with finance and ends with government. And as we go through and start talking about some of these frameworks, I'm going to be sharing some of my exposure to you guys with the different things that I've done in those industries. So that's kind of a little bit of a background on me. here at Cyber Protects, we have been keeping the dream alive, going on a little bit over 5.5 years now. We have a number of different customers on not only the training side of the house, but we develop software. So I'm going to write this up here, training, software. And we've been getting pretty lucky with some managed services over the past 18 months and have done that a lot for the defense industrial base as well as some commercial entities out in the wild. So if you're interested in finding out more information, I'm not looking to give you a sales pitch. I'd rather you pass the CISSP and then refer all of your friends back to us. That would be fantastic. Now, I will also say that for you folks online that are in the area here, you know, I think that we have a nice facility here, and it is strategically located in a 6 feet apart kind of manner. Personally, I prefer learning online personally, or learning in person, but I have also learned online. So it's up to you whether you want to stay remote. We'll offer it up online, but there is 3 types of learners in this world. And I love this little drawing pad that I got about 4 months ago. 3 types of learning. There are people that hear it and it's magical, they just retain it. That's not me. There are people that see it and are visual types of learners, and you know, that's not me. And then there's people that are kinetic and actually need to do it. And so there's the hear it, the see it, do it. And usually of the 3, 2 or even all 3 of them come in very handy. And we're going to be going through and doing that throughout the week. We'll play around with some tools. We'll do some practical exercises. But we do have over 400 YouTube videos out there on many of these topics that you can go and brush up on. Plus, we're going to be recording. So that's that. For you guys, give you an idea here. What I'm going to be doing here is going around the horn, and I'm going to be asking you a few different questions here. I'm going to be asking you, who are you? Where do you work? What do you do? Who, what, where? What certs do you have? Do you consider yourself technical or non-technical? What degree do you have, if any? Or maybe I should put degrees. And last one here, how long have you already been preparing? Now, while I ask you these, it's oftentimes we immediately see who are extroverts and who are introverts, because the introverts will be succinct and precise with their delivery of answering these questions, whereas the extroverts will be a little bit more long in the tooth and tell us some stories maybe. But either way, that's fine with me. The last thing, and one of the most important things for me, and if you've taken other courses from me, you probably have seen this before, but of the domains that we have here, and I'll make sure that everybody sees these, which one are you a stud and which one are you a dud in? A stud and a dud in. All right. Stand by. Let me keep that. Student not signed in, waiting in lobby. Okay, let's let that student waiting in lobby to come on in. All right, so let's just go ahead and discuss a few things here before we get you back to answering those questions. Tell me a little bit about yourself. So I remember when I was told by my boss a long time ago that I needed to take the CISSP, that I was like, oh yeah, no problem. At that time, I was, or at least I thought I was, pretty good with computers. I went through Microsoft's Certified Systems Engineer course, and I'd passed all of those exams. So I was a Microsoft Certified Systems Engineer. And I was pretty confident in networking. And specifically for me, I have, when I was practicing for this exam, or I was preparing for this exam, I am an expert in identity and access control, identity management and access control. And that's really what I've been able to do throughout my career, with a love-hate relationship with networking personally. But I have learned over the 20 plus years that I've been in it that I am pretty good with networking, and specifically network security. So that's something that I'm pretty good at. And there's a reason why I'm telling you this. So when I was going through and practicing or preparing for the CISSP, there was a lot of different things that I could study. And if you've ever studied for a certification before, then you know that there's also a lot of things that are out there that you may not need to study, just maybe extra things that are kind of get in your way, or may not be of significant interest. And so, at the time, I remember thinking that my stuff didn't stink, and when I took a class, every question that the instructor was asking, I was tracking with them. I was the audio or the auditory type of learning. I was doing well. The visual, I felt like I was doing well with that, and any sample test that he was given, I felt like I was doing pretty good with that as well. And so, I kind of think that at the time, I much more naive younger man, I took it for granted. I took this test for granted, and I prepared for probably about 3 weeks at that time, taking tests and doing okay at them. And then I went and took the test, and I came out of there thinking to myself, there ain't no way that I passed that thing. And back then they would tell you about 3 days afterwards whether you passed it. So it's been a little while since I've had it. And sure enough, I got the Dear Ben letter that said that you didn't pass it, and here are the deficiencies, and it was almost every domain that I had a deficiency in at that time. And I tell you that because personally, what I have been able to discover throughout my lifetime is that sometimes a good kick in the teeth is what you need to get the party started. And that's exactly what happened with me. So after I failed it the first time, or let's say didn't pass it, let's use that word, right? What I decided to do was figure out a way that I could do much better at it. And, I started watching more videos. And at that time, I had heard of a guy named Zig Ziglar, who was a fantastic speaker. And Mr. Ziglar had this thing that he called at the time, and I don't know if he ever got a trademark on it, Automobile University. And what he postulated that you could take that, 45 minutes in the morning and the 45 minutes in the afternoon and try to enrich yourself. And, ever since I heard that, it's really, I don't know if that one thing has changed my life, but, as far as learning is concerned, I don't need to hear the news. I already know that it's pretty much the same thing, except tomorrow's a pretty big day. But that time, that commuter time, is significant. And as you prepare for this, I would recommend that you don't watch videos in your car, but listen to the audio, and especially things that you suck in. And you'll figure that out throughout the week. Try to listen to as much as you can, and I'll give you some great resources besides our YouTube channel that you can go out and take that into. But also, what we need to make sure is that you have some way that you can memorize things. And so for you folks in person here, we have some note cards that we're going to give you. And, for me, making flashcards is the way that I pass exams. And why do I mention that? Well, flashcards studies have shown that as you go through and write the big word on the front, and then you flip it over and then write 5 to 10 words about that topic, that just the simple fact that you're going through and doing the writing manually, the flashcards, helps you to retain that information. Certainly, on our Cyber Ninja app, we do have some flashcards out there that are electronic, but that doesn't really help us with the manual, more strategic for you as an individual to go in and focus on things that you need some help on. So memorization is key. Okay. And then the last thing, the practice test. This is, to me, at least 75% of what you need to do to pass this thing. You have to become a good test taker. And primarily here, the CISSP, anything that you see people talking or read anything about it, it is more of a managerial exam. So anybody who's taken some of the more technical things like the CCNA or CEH, or even some of the Security Plus components, they'll be worded a little bit differently. Those questions will be worded a little bit differently. The weird thing about this exam over any other exams out there is that it's focused on what would you do as a manager, from a manager's perspective or from management's perspective, more of an operational perspective. And there is always, and this is what sucks about it, there's always going to be two answers that are going to be given to you. And that's the thing that really sucks here, is because there are two valid answers. And so what we typically recommend here is that you practice the WASTL method. And that is, what answer sucks the least? Because there will always be two answers, and it's very important for you to understand that one of them is going to be a little bit better than the other one, and you gotta prepare yourself to do that. So why do I say that? Well, after certifying 3,000 people and teaching both at UAH and Calhoun, as well as here at Cyber Protects for the past 12 years, I can tell you that this exam is still the miggity Mac Daddy of them all. And if you get this, then it not only gives you an injection of confidence in yourself, but also a fantastic chance to be in an elite group of people across the land. So let me show you what I'm talking about here, and then we're going to go around the horn and ask you who you are, what you do. So out here on the internet, there is a website. You may have seen this before. It's called cyberseek.org. And in here, they have this pretty cool thing. It's a career pathway of cybersecurity. And for many of you, you probably are somewhere between a mid-level or an advanced level of cybersecurity manager, or maybe a consultant of some kind, an engineer. Many of us that take this class have a specialty area that we've figured out that we like, possibly, or maybe we want to get into something else. But essentially, with the 5 years of experience that is needed from ISC squared for this exam, typically we get a lot more seasoned folks that come in. That's not saying that I'm calling you old or fat or ugly, right? That's more of that's the requirement. We got to have 5 years of experience. And there's a reason for that, is because typically what people say for this exam is that it's 10 miles wide and an inch deep, 10 miles wide and an inch deep. And in order for us to be able to retain that amount of information, we got to put some work in to do it. We got to put some work in to do it. But if you do put in the work, check out these salaries here. If you're already not making this kind of jack, then you have something to look forward to. And these are I think the median within the United States. So manager would be 103,000. Engineers 99,000, and then architect 131,000. I'm here to tell you that it really depends on LOE, level of experience, but also how awesome you are. Like, do you have good communication skills, and can you command attention from an audience? Those are two great negotiation components that really help lift us to that next level. That's not the coolest thing about this particular website. This heat map is probably something that I am most acutely aware of, because we get folks asking us from different companies across the nation, do we know anybody? Do we know anybody? Do we know anybody? Do we know anybody? And over time, we have done that, but I'm not a headhunter, and I never want to be one. So typically, I'll send out, if people want to know if I know of something, they reach out to me and then I make a connection. But otherwise, this is more for us taking this boot camp. If you just check it out here, and you can isolate into any particular geographical region here with different legends on job postings. Right now, there's still a significant shortage in cybersecurity people. And every day we hear something going on in this great land of ours about somebody being compromised, whether it's some of these new types of ransomware attacks that we have been involved in. We've helped a number of different customers over the last 2 years recover from ransomware attacks, or if it's just network security in general and locking down networks. But typically for this town, it's more putting the lipstick around it and dealing with something with the risk management framework. So you may be more familiar with that. And I'd say that because we'll go in and take a look here in a second on some of this other things, but I just want you to take a look here at some of the data that has been collected and provided here. So for many of you, and I'm guessing here, many of you, you probably have Security Plus. And so a lot of folks are with you here. Security Plus has 151,853. And for every job out there, there's nearly a 3-to-1 ratio. So that means that there's 3 other studs like you that you're competing with in order to see if you can get that job, right? But if we just take a look down here at the CISSP, currently there's 84,802. Let me just confirm here the number. I am 51,375. And I've had this for a long, long time now. So you can tell that over the last 15 years or so, 51 to 84, we're looking at right around 33,000 people and that's not that many, not that many. But look at the ratio here. That's the important thing for anybody who gets the certification. You're going to be in high demand if you are. We get a lot of different people. We get a lot of people that come through and love their current jobs that they're in, and this really solidifies that and makes a career strategic move for them. But a lot of people are going to be in a different scenario where maybe you feel like you're not being paid enough right now, or maybe you're looking for a job, and because of that, what we should be able to see is a 20 to 30% salary increase, 20 to 30% salary increase, but you have to jump jobs in order to do it. That's what we've seen over the years. And I say that because if you go up and look at that, usually if you were to take a look at the jobs out there, here in our great state of Alabama, currently there's almost 6,000 jobs. If we isolate here and just look at the Hunts Vegas area, of those 5,962, 3,800 of them are jobs for security professionals here in in Huntsville. And check this out. Currently, of those 3,000 plus jobs there, 3813, what's that number? 859 of those here in town are for the CISSP. And look at that. Look at that. Look at that ratio right there. So that means that I'm not saying that you're wanting to make a change. Maybe your current place you work has some opportunities that you could shape shift into. But what I am saying is that you will be in significant demand if you are able to achieve this. And since you have taken the boot camp, I'm gonna give you everything I have to put you in a position to be successful. And I mean that. So this is a pretty cool tool that you can go and check out if you're in another part of the country. You may be interested in checking some of them out, but at a high level, that's something that is of interest. All right, so what we're going to do is we're just going to take a look at some of these domains quickly, and then I'm going to try to make sure that everybody is on the same page, because I'm looking to hear who you are, where do you work, what do you do there, what certs do you have, do you consider yourself technical or non-technical, do you have a degree, how long have you been preparing for this exam, and it's okay if you haven't, and what do you feel you're a stud and a dud in as far as the different domains are concerned. Okay, so that's kind of what we're going to look at. Let me do something here. So I just put into the chat window the domains and the percentages of those domains. And what we typically will see is every so often they'll update the exam. They'll have more questions based off of adaptive test taking, that you're going to be, maybe you're a stud in one area, and so you kind of max out in that area, and then they'll start peppering you with other things that they want to test your competence in. And so typically these are the percentages that they start off with the number of questions that you're going to have, and we'll go through all that. Yeah, each individual is different. And of this, that's a great question. I had one come in here. Of this, we have a 92% pass rate from people of the CISSP, taking the CISSP bootcamp. So that's a great question, 92%. What's the first time pass rate test coming out of this bootcamp? 92%. All right, great question. All right, so what I'm going to do here is I'm going to go around the horn and we're going to ask you a little bit about yourself. So we'll get a chance to see if your microphone's working at home. Why don't we start off with Alicia? Alicia, good morning. How you doing today?
I'm good. How are you guys?
Doing well. Tell us a little bit about yourself. Who you are, what are you doing, what certs, and the rest of it, please.
Okay, so I'm Alicia Kegler. Currently, I'm in between jobs. My previous job was I was a cybersecurity instructor. I have a Security Plus certification as well as a Microsoft Team certification. I don't consider myself non-technical, but I'm not technical either, so I'm in between. I have a BS in mathematics and a master's in computer forensics and security management. Um, I'm not gonna say I'm a stud in anything. I know enough to get by, but I want to know enough to pass a test. So I'm not a stud, but I'm not a dud either.
So which one do you feel the most confident?
We're gonna say security and risk management.
Okay. And what about the one that you think
And
you're going to need to prepare a little bit more for?
probably software security development.
Okay, I'm just taking some notes here. All right. Do you have any exposure with web servers?
I do not.
Okay. What about database? Dealing with
I have a
database?
little exposure with I have a little exposure with databases.
Okay. So some database. All right. All right. Well, welcome. Good to hear your voice.
Thank you.
All right. Let's go with Jennifer. Jennifer, how you doing?
Good.
Tell us a little bit about yourself.
I'm Jennifer White. I work at Dynamics as a ISSO and to be an ultimate ISM as long as I pass the test. And a lot of things on that. I have my Security Plus certificate. That's pretty much it. There's technical, non-technical. I don't really to flip between the two. I'm probably more non-technical. My degree is in geography, so nothing related to any of this. Let's see, I've been doing security related stuff for probably the past 2.5 years.
Okay.
So I'm fairly new compared to everybody else. I don't have the 5 years experience that probably most have. As far as stud and dud, I'm probably going to know more in the security risk management. I've been inundated in RMF stuff and EMAS for the past year and a half, almost 2 years. So, and then as far as when I'm not going to be doing it, probably, God, I don't know. There's so many options. If I had to pick one, it would probably be the architecture and engineering.
Okay. All right. So, having a degree in geography is something to be proud of. And, you know, personally, I used to think that for me, I couldn't find something that was of significant interest, but it has really helped.
I still use Confidentiality. My husband and I own our own business, and I make maps that we sell online. So I still get to use it, just not for my main job, I guess you could say.
Yeah. Right on. Welcome. Good to see you again.
Yes, you do.
All right, Ryan, how you doing?
Good. So my name is Ryan Osborne. Currently work at the Boeing company as an information system security engineer. Currently have a Security Plus, Linux Plus, IP, where not really a certification, but certified through CISSP for I consider myself probably more technical, but not technical. Degrees, I have a bachelor's in management systems. Currently working towards my with concentration in cybersecurity.
Okay.
How long? I've been in the IT industry for roughly 8 years. I've been studying for the certification for about 3 months now. Studied, like Jennifer, I'm from an ISSM background primarily, so security risk management, quite a strong suit. Found time between architecture and engineering and software development, which is kind of ironic because that's kind of what my position is all about. So hopefully brush up on it before I really get started.
Okay. All right. So do you have any exposure to web servers?
Very limited.
Okay. What about database? And database?
Yes, that was a
Okay. Cool. Now, you know, my favorite baseball player of all time shares your same first name. Big Cubs fan, huh? Nice, nice. So I'm a big Cubs fan as well, and especially the variety of a 40-40 club, perennial all-star Gold Glove second baseman Ryan Sandberg. But he played some good baseball over the years. So I know a few people over at Boeing and on the break, but I'll see if you maybe know a few of those people. Welcome. All right, so let's keep going here. How about Amos? How you doing? Tell us a little bit about yourself. Amos, can you hear me?
Hey there,
We'll
can
come
you hear
back
me
to
now?
you. Yeah, we can hear you now. There we go.
Sorry, I started into it already, but here we go. My name's Amos Vandehei. I do work right now for Fortified Health Security, and obviously that's healthcare based, so that's what we do most of. I work in the SIM, in the Security Operations Center specifically, and I'm a threat analyst there with those guys. My current certs would be SSCP, System Security Certified Practitioner, also from IC Squared. I think I'm technical, more technical, lean more technical. I do have some degrees, although they're from a different career, associate degrees in paramedicine and fire suppression, as well as teaching. I did spend 20 years as a critical care paramedic, as well as a firefighter. Trying to relaunch my career into the IT here in the last 6-7 years. I've been preparing for this test probably 8 months to a year now, kind of just looking through the books and stuff. Obviously, trying to jumpstart it with this boot camp. I've been involved in IT to some degrees for 22 years, but let's say security for about 6, IT security. The domains that I think I have pretty well down would be security risk management. And the one that I need the most help with would be software development or software security development.
Okay. How long ago did you take the SSCP?
Late 2018, I took it.
Okay. So those types of questions are going to be very similar to these types of questions. It probably will, you'll have some flashbacks here, some PTSD from preparing for that. Yeah, so welcome, man. It's great to have you. I look forward to getting to know you throughout the week.
Cool,
Right.
thanks.
Yeah. All right, let's keep on trucking here. Brandon, good morning.
Good morning. My name is Brandon Ardis. I work for Mission Multiplier out at Marshall Space Flight Center. I'm a cybersecurity engineer on the risk management team there. I have the Security Plus certification and the ITIL Foundation certification. I would say that I'm technical, and as far as degrees, I'm finishing my senior year of my bachelor's degree in cybersecurity and information assurance. I'd say I've been preparing more or less for a year, and that's fairly intermittent review. So I bought the book maybe a year ago, as well as the 11th hour study guide, and I'll look at it on and off for maybe a week here, 3 weeks go by, look at it again, and now I finally decided, I saw that this came up, and last second decided I'm just going to buckle down and try and nail this out. And for the domains that I'm a stud and dud in, I would have to say I'm a stud in the security and risk management side, and a dud in probably what everyone else has been going with, software development security.
All right. Well, welcome to the class.
Thank you.
And we'll try to make sure that we bring you with us, whatever you feel less confident in. Hopefully by the end of the class, you'll feel a little bit more confident.
If it's anything like the Security Plus boot camp y'all did, I took that and I loved it. It was phenomenal. So I'm excited.
Well, what do they say on YouTube? Make sure to give us the thumbs up and subscribe right here. No, that was me being a dork. That's all that was. All right. Well, welcome back, and it's good to see you here again. All right. Who do we got next? Doug. Doug, hello.
Good morning. My name is Doug Holman. I'm a ISSM for Lockheed Martin. I spend most of my time writing and preparing RMF security control documentations, policies, procedures. And I have a Security Plus certification. I consider myself technically oriented. My degree, it's in management information systems. I've been told I'm required to have the CISSP for the last 12 years now. Luckily, I've been able to get away with not having it. But now our upper management has decided that everybody in my field has to have it. So stuck in this boot camp. I don't consider myself a stutter or dud in any of the areas, but I'd say security risk management is probably my better area, and I'm going to go with communications network security because I've never really worked on the networking aspect of computer security.
Okay. How long you been at Lockheed for?
Technically a little over a year, but I've worked there previously for 11.
Okay. Very good. Well, welcome. Nice to meet you virtually. All right, and then last but not least, here we have student. Hello. Tell us a little bit about yourself, student. No. All right, student. Student looks like they're a lurker. Or maybe the microphone doesn't work. We'll find out here in a few minutes. Yeah, all it says is student. All right, let's go ahead and get the party started here. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to just put in some basic information into the chat window with the intent that, you know, we're just going to give you a gut check of you know, where you may be and what you can do. So just give me a second. Let's just start off with something pretty easy here. I'll give you a minute to see if you can answer that question. So for you guys here in person, feel free to put it into the chat window. It's okay if you can't spell. Yeah. All right, you two here. Good. All right, you guys that are online, I put something into the chat window. Good. All right, good, Ryan. Good, Jennifer. Good, Alicia. All right, good, Doug. Good, Amos. Brandon, good. All right. Yeah. So that stands for confidentiality, integrity, and availability. And typically, I mean, for many of you guys that said that you were doing risk management and with the RMF side of the house, especially on the government side, You're very familiar with that CIA triad probably, because that's really where most of the projects that you are doing with RMF start, is trying to find the high water mark or the low water mark, whether it's moderate, low, or high in confidentiality, integrity, and availability, to try to get some sort of impact assessment to make sure that you are doing your due diligence to put everything in place while you prepare your packages for hopefully approval. All right, let me keep on going here, and I'll just keep asking a few questions. So it's always quite interesting for me as a, whether it's on a adjunct professor over at UAH or teaching here as an instructor, to see where people are at and to know that mostly everyone feels less confident about software security. That almost tells me that I need to spend a little bit more time on that particular domain. So typically we'll try to see if we can get through 2 domains per day, with the exception that we may have some overflow and into Friday. But usually on Friday, I'll go ahead and do a review in the afternoon, probably around 2 or 3 o'clock in the afternoon. And then usually what I'll do is, with this class especially, is I'll meet one day next week, either in person or online, and then one day the following week. And it'll be, just a brush up session where basically it's a review. For anybody that is interested in attending, we'll extend that out. So we'll plan that out as the week kind of goes on. Usually what we typically will see for people taking this boot camp are they come in and they either want to take it the following Monday, or they realize the wealth of information here and how much information there is, and they take a little bit more time to buckle down. For many of you in here, if you are interested in taking this, what I would probably recommend here, just looking at the calendar, if I was you, I would plan on taking this exam, unless you're already planning to do it next week or the week after. I would plan on taking it the 19th, the 20th, or probably most favorably the first part of the week of Thanksgiving. So the 23rd, 24th time frame. That's what I would do personally, because then you don't have to worry about it over the Thanksgiving break. Because if you do, that's probably the whole weekend. That whole weekend will probably be shot for you. So 23rd, 24th. In town here, there's a place over in Decatur that you can take the ISC squared exams. But some people here from Huntsville will drive down to Birmingham. They'll drive up to Nashville, or I have personally driven over to Atlanta to take tests because they're more favorable from my schedule. Whether or not you do that, that's up to you. But for anybody that signed up and paid for the vouchers, other people that signed up and decided to get the vouchers on your own, whatever, we'll make sure that we get those to you, and you can get out there and register with the exam to lock your spot in there. Okay, that's kind of what I'm thinking for you. That anybody who's been preparing gung ho and is coming in here to kind of get a gut check, You probably are going to be ready to take it next week. So the 20th by by the 13th. If you haven't prepared or you haven't been preparing, you may consider, the week of the 20th. But I'll tell you this, that typically we do the reviews, and those reviews kind of, after you've had a week to digest it and kind of go through it, we'll do a review next week sometime. And then you bring some of the topics that you are not as comfortable with, and we'll just go over those again. And then typically for this exam, we'll do another one the following week to kind of give you one last gut check. Usually the sweet spot for this exam is 3 weeks out. That's what I'm just telling you, having certified a lot of people in this exam. That way you get ample time to figure out which ones you need to prepare significantly in. We'll give you 2 free review sessions, and then the party starts for you whenever you jump into it on whatever that judgment day is for you. How's that sound? Okay. Okay, good. Good. Move that over here. Sure. Participants, put participants over here. All right, so let's just talk quickly about some of the things that are very important as we go through and begin discussions in or around any of the topics within the CISSP. We mentioned the holy trinity, if you will, of the CIA triad, and these are just really kind of getting the creative juices flowing as far as what is the most important. So let's go ahead and take a look here at some of these practical exercises. Let me see who I can call on here. So this number 1 here, Brandon, number 1, being able to access work accounts from home gives you some tremendous flexibility. And we've seen that over the last 9 months or so, 8 months, however long. What do you think is, in the CIA triad here, what do you think is to you the most important component if we're trying to identify that in this regard, Brandon?
As far as being able to, I'd say availability.
Okay. And surely we can have a discussion as well on, the trust factor of, somebody that you do that with. But yeah, I would agree. The availability is of most importance. Many people have said that they feel like they've been more productive working remotely because they don't have to BS with people around the water cooler. And I can totally see that happening. So good job, Brandon. All right, let's go with Jennifer. What about the second one here? Company requiring all emails be sent with a private key. What are your thoughts on that? Okay, why?
I want to make sure that it is truly from that person, that it hasn't been messed with or anything, place in there and recipient.
Okay, so typically we sign with our digital signatures with the private key. And so I'll just write that here, digital signature. And I would agree with you here that as far as with the private key is concerned, usually that's associated with integrity and digital signatures, or also it could be PKI and dealing with public key infrastructure. And that could be related to confidentiality as well. But the antithesis here would be availability, right? We don't want it to be seen by everybody. Great job on that one. All right, what about Doug? Doug, let's go with you on this next one here. All employees must sign this thing called an NDA. non-disclosure agreement. What are your thoughts on that?
Confidentiality.
Okay, yeah, we got to keep things private that may have an interest to the corporation, the secret sauce, for instance, or something like that. Good. And making sure that that person has the integrity to keep and hold that non-disclosure agreement. All right, what about this next one, Ryan, here? What the employees must have an ID, a pen, a fingerprint scan to enter the office. Somebody's serious there, right?
Yeah, I mean, I can see all three actually in there. But that was, I did, integrity.
Integrity?
Yeah.
Okay. Why? Why would you go with integrity there?
That's the individual, actually proven who they are.
Yeah, and in this particular case right here, this would be something that we have, something that we know, and something that we are. And 3 factors of authentication would be directly related to the integrity of an individual and vetting that individual. But also, we could probably make an argument, just like you said, for at least confidentiality. And I would say that it's probably the antithesis here of availability, just because you got to jump through hoops here to be able to get into there. So it would probably be the opposite of availability in this regard. This could be, 3 factors of authentication really could put a wrench in somebody's style if they've forgot one of those 3. I mean, it'd be tough to forget your fingerprint though. All right, great job there. All right, let's go to how about Amos? Amos, what about this next one here? One company agreeing with another company to access each other's databases. For some reason here, I think whenever I read this, I think about our doctor's office and maybe like Walgreens or CVS or somewhere that the pharmacist is, and they're going to share information back and forth. What do you think is of the CIA triad? What do you think is the most important here?
Availability.
Availability. Why?
For some reason, they need to share the data, so they're making sure it's available across company lines. And the example you gave would be probably for some sort of prescriptions or at least some basic medical information. But
yeah, and so applicable privacy standards like HIPAA would come into play here. But again, with this one, we could also make an argument in this particular regard that there needs to be some sort of confidence or confidentiality in there as well, and I need to be able to trust you that you're not going to go in there and hose up my data as well. So probably all 3 in this particular regard. And these types of examples come in handy because really throughout our lives as security engineers or practitioners, we should be able to apply the CIA triad to just about everything that we do, with either figuring out what the impact would be or anything in that regard. So great job there. Let's go with the next one here. Here's 3 other examples. How about we go with Alicia here, Bank of America, of the CIA triad. What are your thoughts on Bank of America? What's the most important to them?
Availability, being able to access your bank account. And then I will also say, oh my God. I mean, you can apply all 3 of them, honestly, but availability at the top.
Okay. So we absolutely could apply confidentiality because they have everything about us, and really they control the banks control because they have the carrot in front of us with the credit score. So that's a pretty big deal as far as keeping, our personal information confidential, as well as, making it available. If we go up and we want to buy something at Publix or Kroger or Walmart, we want to make sure that works, and have that confidence is tremendous, especially nowadays. And I would totally agree here. All three of these would be a significant amount of importance to Bank of America. So CIA Triad, we could make an argument on which one's the most important, but certainly all three of them are very important. Great job. All right, let's go with back to Jennifer here. This is the Office of Personnel Management, OPM. And what are your thoughts on that as far as the CIA Triad is concerned?
Going back to the whole data breach that they had.
Mm-hmm.
Wonderful fun. Probably. Because again, all going to the cloud, but the main one would be confidentiality.
I would totally agree with you there. And if you're like me and you just hit the nail on the head, and that's the reason why I put this here, is 41 million federal contractors and civilians data that was filled out on the standard form 86, which is the background investigation, was compromised or stolen. And haven't heard too much more about that since that happened, other than Dear Ben, your data was stolen. They haven't heard much more about that, but you know, when I was up for my my re-up of my elevated clearance, I asked them what were they doing differently, and that was probably the wrong answer or wrong question for me to ask, because they spent a little bit more time vetting everything about me, which I felt they did a good job though this second time around. Now, hopefully, they've evolved the way they keep things confidential. But that was a massive data breach. And gosh, that has to be 5 years ago now that happened. All right, last but certainly not least, let's go back to, how about Amos on this one? Amazon. What are your thoughts on Amazon?
I think Amazon's main concern is availability, but again, as with these others, all three could be come into play. I think confidentiality would have to do with the credit cards, if they store your credit cards, if you sign up for their account and get everything auto-entered. And then integrity, they just want to make sure they have good email addresses to bomb you with spam and all that. So all three, but availability is probably their number one thing, trying to sell as much as they can and be one click away from everyone.
Yeah, that is sinful, isn't it? That one click purchase is sinful, and
yeah,
you know they have Bezos back, I think in 2013 or 2012. He made a commitment when he was brought back as the CEO or whatever his title is, that he didn't care if they were going to lose money. He just wanted it to be available online. And what a brilliant thing that now in hindsight was, as Amazon's trading over $2,000 a pop, and they're in the Gartner upper right quadrant for Amazon Web Services too. So all of their web services that they do, you know, they're upper right quadrant for online store and online purchasing, upper right quadrant for video and offering video with Amazon Prime Video. So massive company that some small businesses are calling the Death Star, because they're putting a lot of people out of business.
Did you see too, Jeff Bezos' net worth in 2020 went from like 118, I don't know the exact numbers, but just over 115 million to 189 so far. So just tremendous growth.
Yeah, that's amazing. It's amazing. All right, so I think that this kind of helps solidify some of the discussions here. So when we jump into talking about risk management and security in the regards to the CIA Triad and any of the domains that we're going to be talking about, we can always fall back to the CIA Triad. Now, For the purposes of your exam, we're going to be talking about a lot of different things with many of these practical exercises that are going to come in play. But also we're going to be going through and doing a lot of practice questions. And what we're going to do here is we're going to take a quick commercial break and come on back. And how about 8 minutes? 8 minutes. So at 10:05, come back at 10:05 and we'll jump into the next episode here. So give you 8-minute break. Come on back in 8 minutes. All right, so let's keep on trucking here. I think I said 8 minutes. Is that 8 minutes? Not quite. Okay, we'll give everybody a minute. All right, well, welcome back. Welcome back. Looks like the mic is on, the video is on, so things are ready to go. So I want to just read to you somebody who took the CISSP boot camp with us, and then they took the exam on October 22nd, which is a little bit over a week ago. So this person said, the test made me feel ridiculously dumb as I went in trying to be confident in every single question and answer I gave. The first 20 questions, I could easily pick the best 2 answers. After that, it was a toss-up on which of the 2 was the correct answer, just like I was saying initially. I could tell which subjects I had problems with in as they kept reappearing, which I totally agree. Identity and access management and security operations or operations security showed up multiple times for me. I had roughly 150 questions and finished in 2.5 hours. The mnemonics that you provided were immensely helpful. Well, that's good. That's good to know. I would say make sure you know which layers of the OSI model handle what, which we're going to be going through. And I had quite a few questions on that. Some that didn't directly ask you which layer, but if you knew the layer, you would answer the question correctly. Also, my advice about time management is to not worry as much about how long it takes you to answer a single question. I ran through the first 75 in about an hour. When I realized this, I quit checking the time and it helped me relax a little bit, which is important for you to relax. Taking the test during COVID times is certainly an experience. The testing center in Decatur understands that taking this test is already stressful, but they still must follow strict guidelines set by Pearson VUE, the state, and their own building. If you do have someone taking the test there in Decatur, let them know to enter in the front of the building and use the smaller speaker next to the call phone in order to get into the building. So this person's giving you specific information on that Decatur building. The test dates were very limited back when I took your class in May. So this person took it in May. I'm not sure how they look now, but I imagine it's about the same. After taking your boot camp, I read through the entire Sean Harris book, which I passed out to you guys, and I had a CISSP sample test question book from Cybex by Mike Chappell. In addition, your Cyber Ninja, which I'm going to show you here in a second, was immensely helpful. I definitely recommend taking at least 2 to 3 weeks to study on your own before the test. I spent close to 40 hours in the 2 to 3 weeks studying any CISSP information I could find and still didn't feel like I was fully prepared. The test truly is a mile long and an inch deep. Thank you. Okay, so that person passed, and what I'll do is I'll give you a few of these throughout the week to kind of give you an idea of what you're going to be expecting, because each person's experience is a little bit different. Hopefully it has the same outcome that you pass. Hopefully it has the same outcome. So that was nice. Usually what students will do is they'll reach back out and let me know either way. And if they are successful, usually it'll be a nice recap of what they were able to find, or what their experience was. But if you're not successful, let me know, and we'll work something out for the next boot camp that we offer, to make sure that you still got a fighting chance to get through and pass this thing. All right, so okay, so what I'm going to do here is we're just going to get you into a little bit of a battle rhythm of what you can expect on the exam. And I'm sharing my screen now with you. What I'd like you to do is, for each person that participates here, I'd like you to read the question out loud. And then from the bottom up, read the answers out loud. And then eliminate 2 and practice the WASTL method. The WASTL method. What answer stinks the least? So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go ahead and give you an idea in the security and risk management domain. Before we jump into it, I want to give you an idea of what those questions look like. And hopefully you'll at least get a fighting chance to see where you're at with these, okay? All right, so let's start off with Jennifer. Jennifer, hello. Go ahead. Get the party started for us here.
If the limited steps to security planning include all of the following except B, determine alternate courses of action, C, establish a security audit function, B, list planning assumptions, A, establish objectives. So we're talking about preliminary steps. Let's see. Let's do answers. Probably C, establish a security audit function. And probably D, determine alternate courses of action.
So get rid of those.
I think those are our best ones.
Okay. So one of the things that we, right off the get-go, we establish a warning shot across the bow and make sure that we know that it says except here, right? Okay, so you're going to eliminate A and B here?
Correct.
Okay. Let's get rid of A and B. Good.
So, we're doing security planning. We're talking high level stuff. So. Gonna say B, determine alternate courses of action.
You going to go with that? All right. Anybody got a different answer? The answer here is Charlie. Establish a security audit function, but you had it down to 50-50. That's good. So it says down here, the except, right? This is not a preliminary step and is usually performed by the audit group, not the security group. I would totally agree with you on this, that D, probably you could say a similar statement about it not being a preliminary step. But C is the best answer here. C is the best answer. All right, let's go with Ryan on this one.
Which of the following is a key element during the initial security deployment process? Institute a change management program, define reporting relationships, implement a security awareness program, establish system review contracts. So I'd probably get rid of E. Probably could C.
Why?
Because it's the initial part of the security to determine who define who is actually responsible for what functions.
That's right. That's right. And I would totally agree with you there. The org chart also dictates where do I need to go to get the money, to get approval for whatever project that I'm getting ready to put in place. So C is the best answer here. The org chart, some people call it a phone tree, but essentially, who do I need to convince? Who do I need to get on board to make sure that I have everything in place? And you define those reporting relationships. Great job on that one. All right, let's go with Alicia on this next one. Alicia, go ahead.
Which of the following is not an element of a security planning mission statement? D, confidentiality statement, C, scope statement, B, background statement, and A, objective statement. So I'm going to go ahead and eliminate B, background statement.
Okay, you're gonna get rid of B.
And
Let's get rid of B.
oh, wait. Not
Oh, no.
an element. Okay. So B is I'm gonna go with B as being my answer.
Oh, you're gonna go with B. Okay.
Yeah, I'm gonna go with B. So I'm gonna get rid of B, and I'm gonna get rid of A. And I'm gonna go with B.
You go Bravo. Okay, why? Why are you gonna go Bravo?
I don't know. My gut is telling me to go with Bravo, but I could be wrong.
Okay. All right. Anybody got a different answer? Which one is not an element of security planning mission statement? One is not. Nobody has a different answer? Why? Why do you think it's D?
Because one confidentiality statement be bigger than after all of the initial security planning setup.
That sounds about right. Yeah. So D is the best answer here. Confidentiality statement is important. In fact, usually mandatory. However, it's typically not part of the security planning mission statement. And so usually these other three would be. And if you've written documents, which I think that a lot of you have a pretty good command of the documentation language, usually confidentiality is not something that we put in there. It's almost implied, but also you could find it in other places, not in the security management or security planning mission statement. All right, good try there. Good try. Let's go with Amos on the next one here. Amos, go ahead.
Which of the following is an objective of every loss prevention program? D, reduce losses to within 10% of a predefined level. C, reduce losses to a predefined level of tolerance. B, permit losses that aren't very important. And A, be 100% effective in preventing losses. I throw out B right away.
Yeah, that's kind of a silly one, right?
Yep. I throw out D. I mean, it should be A, I guess. It'd be my thinking about. That's what I'd go with is alpha.
Go with alpha?
Yeah. Maybe I'm not reading into it enough, but
Okay.
that'd be what you'd write it for.
That's what we're going for. Sure. Anybody got a different answer? You go with C? All right. Why not, right? Why not? So let me just, before I give you the answer here, let me just, well, I have a captive audience. Usually when I'm taking a test, and now that I'm a very good test taker, this is usually, even if I don't know a topic, if somebody wants me to take questions or take a sample test on something, what I'm looking for right away is what can I eliminate? And any time that I see an absolute, anytime I see an absolute, I think to myself, am I certain that it is 10%? Am I certain in this particular case that it's 100%? And, for me at least, I know that being in the business for quite a long time now, this is what we're shooting for. But I just, usually we can't obtain that. So any absolute in this regard, 100%, 10%. If I see something like always, never, any of those other semantically absolute quote unquote words, they're immediately suspect to get eliminated in my mind. And I think that that's probably, especially as you kind of see these questions, we keep getting more and more questions throughout the week. You'll see where you should be able to use this little trick to assist you in eliminating and hopefully getting you down to that 50-50. Now, in this one, I would agree totally here that A does look like the sexiest answer. It does look like the sexiest answer. But in fact, C is what ISC squared wants us to answer. But also, this is as a CISO or an ISSM or an ISSO. This is what we're trying to get to, because I don't know if we can ever get to 100%, because there's always something out there. I know just from my own personal experience working on DoD projects in the past, that having done my due diligence to feel like I'm covering everything that I can do to effectively prevent losses, a red team that comes in, like the Army red team or the SCA V team that comes in, or the auditors with DCSA, they're going to find something. Even if I think that it's 100% loss, or even if I think I got it 100% covered, they're going to find something. And even if they just evaluate it, their job is to find something. I was out, let me give you an example. I was out at Fort Sill, Oklahoma. Not much going on out there. And I was doing an evaluation on a weapons system out there. And that particular engagement, we felt like we had done a great job at helping that particular customer prevent any losses or any particular issues with that piece of equipment. And we were greasing up for a red team visit to see if our stuff stunk. And, first 2 or 3 days that they were there, they couldn't get in. They couldn't get into the system. And I was thinking that, I was pretty hot stuff at the time. And knowing in the back of my mind, these guys they're going to do something. They're going to come up with something. And sure enough, what they ended up doing is they ran a Cat5 cable from an internal network out to this machine and plugged it in to the machine through whatever way that they could. And then they started to run their exercise against it. Now, why do I tell you that? Well, to me, that was pretty unrealistic. That, I got an Army, big 6'4" Army dude with a M16 or a Marine that's guarding that vehicle. Somebody's going to be able to walk up and plug in a Cat5 cable. That's pretty unrealistic. But what they were doing is they were just saying that it could happen. It could happen. And, that was probably 10 years ago and right after I got done with that engagement, I thought to myself, you know what? Anything can happen. So even if I go through and I'm feeling like I am 100% effective at the way that I'm recommending that we implement security on this particular system, somebody's job is to come in and call that baby ugly and figure out how they can poke holes in our security that we've applied to it. And that may be the same for your things that you guys are working on as well. And just keep in mind that that's their job. And if they don't do it, then they wouldn't be doing their job. So C is the best answer here, but you got it down to 50-50. That's pretty good for the first time. All right, let's go with, how about Brandon? Brandon on this next one. This is a pretty long one. We'll give you a little bit to read it. Go ahead.
Which of the following is the best reason for using an automated risk analysis methodology, i.e. one that is supported by a software tool? D, much of the data gathered during the review can be reused, greatly reducing the time required to perform a subsequent analysis. C, minimal information gathering is required due to the amount of information built into the software tool. B, most software tools have user interfaces that are easy to use and require little or no computer experience. A, automated methodologies generally require minimal training and knowledge of risk analysis.
All right, so let's eliminate 2.
I'm going to eliminate B. Most software tools have user interfaces, easy to use, require little or no computer experience. And D. And go with A.
Okay. So which is the best reason for using automated risk analysis methodology, one that's supported by software? Okay. So we have a tool here that helps with things. And as a software engineer, having created many pieces of software in my career, I can tell you that Bravo, as a software engineer, again, just letting you know that this is what we think. That it has user interfaces that are easy to use, little or no computer experience. And that's a naive approach, right? So I would agree with you that we can get rid of with Bravo. But let's say here that in our case, we have this thing that is an EMAS simulator. And this EMAS simulator allows our customers to come in and play around with EMAS with actually keeping things on premise rather than publishing it to EMAS proper. So in this particular case, if we're taking a look at the questions here, or the answers, automated risk analysis methodology, one that's supported by software tool. If we know B is not it, now we have a little bit higher percentage. Anybody got a different answer besides A? Okay, so nobody? So for me, I continue to look at this and I think, yeah, A is kind of the same as B in my opinion, that as a software engineer, I'm thinking, yeah, sure, it's intuitive enough. I'm not going to require anybody to have training and the knowledge of risk analysis. So yeah, maybe we could do that, but no, A is not the right answer. In this particular case here, and like for the tool I just showed you here, our EMAS simulator, any of the data that we gather on one RMF project, as we get better, like you guys personally, not just you two that are here, but anybody else that's online that's done that before, you just get better. And you can reuse, hey, you know what, on this last project, I had this artifact. I'm going to go ahead and just pull it over, shape shift it a little bit, and boom, shakalaka, right? So D, in this particular case, is the best answer because we can use the majority of things based off of a project that we've had in the past. And, for us, when we're going through and helping customers out with RMF, DFARS, and now we are certified practitioners and assessment with CMMC as well. We use stuff on previous projects, things like templates that we have that saves a significant amount of time. And to be able to reuse those artifacts, it's kind of like an attorney when you being married to one. I can tell you that I speak for her here. Hopefully she would agree with me. But the first time that you go through and do something, it's kind of a learning experience. So you may not make a lot of money with it. Second time, now it's about 75% of what it took the first time. Third time, now it's about 50%. Fourth time, you just start to move closer to over time. It's only going to take you 25% of what it took you the first time, because a lot of that knowledge that you have can be reused. And so with each subsequent time, you can make more money on that particular project. And that's typically what we see with automation for risk analysis. All right, Brandon, you know what? Why don't you take another one, man? Go ahead.
When is it acceptable for the manager overseeing the execution of a risk analysis review to not take action on an identified risk? D, never. Action should always be taken to reduce or eliminate an identified risk. C, when risk reduction measures may affect the productivity of the business. B, when the cost of taking action outweighs the potential cost of the risk being realized. A, when responsibility for the conditions the cause of risk to arise is outside their department. I'm going to eliminate C.
Okay.
And D and go with B.
Okay. Why are you going to go with B here?
Budget. I'd say that in an ideal world where, cost isn't really a factor, you would say D. You should always take action. But if taking the action is outside the budget and it's just not going to get approved, then I would say B more realistically.
Okay. Personally, I hate these types of people because I feel like security is everybody's responsibility. Usually you hear people say, this is above my pay grade. Yet if you're an information security professional and something happens and you knew about it, and you didn't report it, shame on you for not reporting that. So I look at D here and I see these right here, these keywords, and I'm not even looking at any of this other stuff that it's saying. Personally, I'm just letting you know what I look at here. I look at D and I see these two words, and those are absolutes. And I know this sounds goofy when I say this, but unless you're 100% sure, then eliminate that, right? So we could probably get rid of A and B, and now we got down to 50-50. This is typically a cost-benefit analysis, or what we typically will call a ROSI. So let me write that down here, cost-benefit analysis, and we'll go through this probably this afternoon. CBA. And then the ROSI is the return on security investment. That's right. People just make up these acronyms and plug it into whatever industry they are in. Instead of it being an ROI, it's an ROSI ROSI. So it's a ROSI in this particular case. So a cost benefit analysis and a ROSI would come in handy here if we're going to be looking to figure out what we need to do to accept the risk, which is what it's really asking us. When is it acceptable here to not taking action? Well, if we've already done our analysis, we've already done our due diligence here. So you see a couple of words here that are probably pretty familiar to anybody in the RMF world. Control. Typically, we also call that a countermeasure. And then, just like I was saying here, the impact assessment, cost benefit analysis, or the return on security investment. Bravo is the correct answer. Great job there, Brandon. All right, let's go with Doug. Doug, go ahead with the next one.
Which of the following techniques most clearly indicates whether specific risk reduction controls should be implemented? D, countermeasure, cost benefit analysis. AIL calculation, risk evaluation, and A, threat and vulnerability analysis. You're gonna have to give me a minute to reread this because I didn't interpret anything I just read. So okay.
Take your time. 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 Take your
I would say I'd get rid of the B. I can't remember what L is, so I'll go with A as the other one to get rid of.
Okay.
And then I would go with D as the answer.
Okay. Why? Why would you go with D here?
Because it's benefit analysis, and we're talking about whether a specific risk reduction should be implemented.
You are correct, sir. You are correct. So yeah, all of these other things come into play with delta here. All these other things come into play with delta, and the ale is an object from that cost benefit analysis that allows us to take a single loss expectancy and multiply it by the annual rate of occurrence to come up with the annualized loss expectancy. And we'll go over that. So if you're not familiar with that, that's pretty important. You'll see a few questions on that, but delta is the correct answer. Great job. All right, let's go back to Ryan on this next one here. Go ahead.
What is the most critical factor to the success of enterprise security? Effectiveness of security management, budget available for security staff, senior management support, complete security awareness. Off the top, I'll give you a D.
Delta?
Yeah, D and B.
Why?
Because even if you do have an effective plan, you don't have to file, you simply fall short.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. So senior management support will ensure that all the factors, other factors listed are effective. Great job. All right, Jennifer, let's go with the next one.
What is best addressed through the concept of need? We determine with policy regulations, see customers, need monitoring employee activities, A, misuse of computer resources. Burn out.
Why?
That need to know kind of separates only specific people should have access to that data.
Okay. So with this exam, they are they strategically word questions and answers to try to get people to pick certain things. So let's look at this again. What is best addressed through the concept of need to know? I'm just going to read it here. Customers protecting their data. How does a customer protect their data? How would a customer protect their data? Okay. All right. So that is a viable answer. That is a viable answer. The answer that ISC squared here wants us to pick is delta, conformance with any privacy regulations. So what we should do is, at least for this exam here, anything dealing with privacy is correlated to need to know. Need to know. Take another one.
Which of the following actions should management take when classified information must be made available to different user populations? C, require specific approval each time the information is accessed. C, first information to multiple local areas network servers. B, raise the classification label to the next highest level. A, increase security controls on the information. Talk about management. B,
Bravo.
is the classification label. That's fine. Well,
Charlie? What if I told you so far so good? Now you got a 50-50. That's right.
get with, C, requires specific approval each time the information is accessed.
Okay. Why?
And I think the data itself will have the same. It's more of a managerial approach to it,
Mm-hmm.
to have the users sign each time they need it. Yeah,
That's where you're going. So what if I needed access to it 10 times a day? Would you be willing to approve my access to it 10 times a day?
and,
That was pretty close, though. You got a 50-50. What would this do for us? Increasing security controls on the information. What would that do for us?
that allow specific users to get the specific data.
And I,
Require the approval. I
yeah,
think I was trying to look at more of manager admin side of it, but
I totally understand. And this exactly what you just said, this would be a significant administrative overhead cost for us to do that somebody would actually need to go in there and, approve something each time that somebody needs that information. So what ISC squared gives me here is it says A would include any or all of the other options listed by doing A. That's the notes that they provide me here.
In the context of the question, what is the difference?
That's a great question. So, to me, what that different user populations means is people with different access levels. Me, that's what that means. Different access to different things. Maybe it can be, I'm open for discussion. I don't want you to feel like I don't have any notes on that specific question. But the access levels of each individual user, maybe even the department. If we go back to the previous question or a few questions ago, the need to know for that, by increasing security controls, it would allow us to see who needs that information in any of the populations that are out there that we govern in our access control paradigm. I don't know if that makes sense.
That does, I was just on preliminary, I thought C, but then I guess when you think into the question more, even if you disperse into multiple zones, you're gonna have more control.
Yeah. All right. Let's keep on going here. Let's go with Alicia. Alicia, go ahead.
A non-binding statement on how to achieve compliance with protective standards is called a procedure, guideline, standard, or policy. Standards. Okay, so I'm gonna get rid of policy. And then I'm gonna get rid of procedure. And I'm gonna go with C, guideline.
Okay. Anybody agree or disagree with that? Guidelines are recommendations and are not binding. Great job. That one was a little too easy for you, so go ahead and take another one.
What is the key objective of a risk management program? D, ensure that all risks are addressed appropriately. C, identify risks to information systems. B, eliminate all risks. And C, calculate, analyze loss expectancy. So, um, I'm going to get rid of well, of course. I'm going to get rid of B
Okay.
because that's in a perfect world, even though we're aiming for perfection. I'm going to get rid of A. What is the key? Oh, C, identify risks to information system.
Okay. Anybody got a different answer?
D.
Why are you going to go with D?
Because your risk management program doesn't necessarily address only information system risks.
Yeah, and this is a risk management program. That would be more of a holistic approach to risk management. This is more of a risk assessment, or typically, if it's just for information systems, we would call that a vulnerability assessment, right? Where that would be we'd be able to find any type of issues with information systems. We might call that a risk assessment. We might call that a gap assessment. That's supposed to say gap. But D here, ensure that all risks are addressed appropriately. Yep, not all the time can you eliminate the word all, but I mean, that's really the goal of a risk management program, right? Is for us to try to identify all the risks. So yes, C, but then what are we doing for each one of those? And so anybody that's familiar with the RMF probably is familiar with the POAM. And that's really how we continue to manage and monitor what are all the things that need to go above and beyond the identification, like mitigating, accepting, or transferring the risk, which is important. It's important. All right, good try, good try. You got close there. All right, let's go this next one here. This is a good one. For how about we go with Amos? Go back to Amos on this one. Go ahead, Amos.
The ISO 17799 can be used as what? D, a procedure. C, a guideline. B, legislation. Or A, a certification. Let's throw out legislation.
Okay. That sounds fancy though, right?
Yeah, it does. Tempting. Let's throw out certification. Let's go with D, I guess.
Go with D,
Yeah.
procedure. All right. So the 17,000 series is a guideline on how to effectively manage IT and govern IT. So management and governance of IT and IT services. So C, or Charlie, let me make sure here. Yeah, C is the correct answer. So it actually formulates from a British standard, BS, not to be confused with the other type of BS that we have. And it gives you some metrics on how you can enforce it, but it is a guideline. So you know what, we're going to give you another chance here. Amos, go ahead and see if you can get this one.
Which of the following is not normally considered a part of project management? D, implementation planning. C, incident handling. B, problem definition. Or A, project planning. I would throw out project planning and implementation planning.
Okay.
A and D.
Well, I pushed the wrong button. So
Well, there you go.
A&B, you were going to get rid of those two?
Yeah, I was down to 50%. I probably went with B actually, but
You were going to go with B. Okay.
I was close. I hadn't quite decided.
Sorry about that.
That's
I
right.
didn't need to push it forward there. So problem definition, why is it not normally considered part of project management? Problem definition. Why?
That should be defined, I guess, before they give it to a project manager, probably.
Well, I mean, if you take a look at this is a little confusing, right? The way that this is worded, which of the following is not normally considered? So yeah, project planning, the problem definition, that's typically the reason why we have a project, is we're trying to solve a problem. And then how we're going to implement it would be as well. So incidents usually come after operation and maintenance. So once we release it into production, usually that's when we can come up with a way that we can handle incidents. So that's a good try. You know what, man? I'm going to give you another one, and I know that you are probably virtually rolling your eyes here because this is the third one for you. But you know what? Go ahead and take a chance.
All right. Qualitative risk assessment can be defined as D, analysis based on empirical data. C, the Delphi method. B, scenario based. And A, applying numerical values to risks. Let's throw out C and B.
Get rid of C and B. Make sure I don't. Okay, get rid of C and B.
I would go with D.
Why? Why would you go with D here?
Applying numerical values to risks sounds slightly funneled. And then empirical data would be data that's based on life or based on experience, perhaps.
Okay. Anybody got a different answer here? All right. So when I think of the word qualitative here, I think of scenario based, or somebody is an opinion. So scenario based or opinion based when I think of the word qualitative. When I think of the word quantitative, I think of money or metrics of some kind, right? So scenario based, opinion based. So somebody in a qualitative would be like a subject matter expert, or SME would provide a qualitative risk assessment. Quantitative would be, number crunching. So numerical, there's a key word there, empirical data. The Delphi technique is something where you get a lot of people that are decision makers. So these decision makers get together, and I believe that they anonymously can vote. And this comes from the place in ancient Greece called Delphi, where it's kind of a circular place on top of a mountain where the sage people, decision makers, used to get together and have an anonymous vote. But in this particular case, qualitative is scenario based, quantitative is numerical based. So that would be the delta between the two. All right, let's go with, how about we go back to Doug for this next one. Doug?
Change management is concerned primarily with D, succession planning for key personnel. Ensure that C, ensure that modifications are authorized. B, increase security effectiveness, and A, timely implementation of all revisions. And I would get rid of A first. I would get rid of D, and then I would go with C.
Okay. You are correct, sir. Good. Change management ensures that all changes to production systems are tested, documented, and authorized. I've been on some projects before where it's not as refined as that, but certainly that's what you want. You want to make sure you test it, you document it, and that you have the proper authorization. Great job. All right, let's go back to Jennifer here. Jennifer. Oh, D. Okay. Why?
Because that's very, people have very kind of specific down the weeds, whereas we're looking at the overall management program. So we want to make sure we have all the other things.
Yeah. We don't need PKI, right? Well, and a lot of people probably don't have enough money to implement PKI. So excellent job on that. Great. And the accept here is we got to make sure that we're starting to recognize those when we're looking at test questions. So great job. All right, let's go back to Ryan here. This is a good one right here.
Which of the following security controls might force an operator into collusion with personnel assigned organizationally within a different function in order to gain access to unauthorized data? Forcing regular password changes, management, monitoring, job rotation of operator personnel, limiting the local access to operations.
Why?
So I'm down between A and B and such, the operator is rotated out into somebody that's
Yep.
access, but then also access of operations personnel fees.
That's right. So, making sure that they have a separation of duties is very important here. First and foremost, you have to have a general understanding of the word collusion. What does that mean? but A is the best answer here. Great job. All right, let's go back to Alicia here for this one.
The concept of least privilege involves D, audit mechanisms, C, authorization levels, B, access authentication, and A, individual accountability. So I'm going to get rid of A.
Could you say that again? You broke up a little bit.
Sorry, I said I'm going to get rid of A.
Get rid of A. Okay.
A, get rid of D.
Get rid of D.
And I'm going to go with C.
Go with C. You are correct. Excellent. Good job. All right, let's go back to Amos for this last one here. This will be the last one. Go ahead.
Privileged access permissions should D, be provided to all trusted personnel. C, only be granted on an emergency basis. B, be subject to recertification. And A, never be granted. I'm going to throw out A right away, and I'm going to throw out D. And C, I'd throw out. I would go with B.
All right. You are correct. Good. All right. So what we typically will do is for each of the domains, we'll have right around 20 questions that we'll do this as an exercise amongst us. And then from there, we'll be able to hopefully have some good conversations. So that's really what I'm hoping that we can do throughout the week. All right. So what time is it? 11:10. All right. What we're going to do here is all right. So what we're going to do is we're going to do a practical exercise, and this should leave us into coming up with some pretty interesting things, and then we'll go to lunch right after this. So I'm going to give you right around 10 minutes here to read through this, come up with what you think is the best approach as the cybersecurity expert in charge of what's going on here. So let's just say how apropos for tomorrow, but let's say that there's a virus outbreak and you're in charge of a major political national convention as a cybersecurity engineer. You realize that your system has been compromised with a nasty virus, and the perpetrator has stolen all the emails and contact information for all major contributions on your network. Your website has been defaced, and your Facebook page is being updated with "Don't vote for me." All email is subsequently down. So instead of working with a partner, what I'd like you to do is on your own, come up with some things, some steps here that you can hopefully put together as you put on your thinking cap for bringing back email, taking back control of your website and your social media, and trying to save face by who did it. All right, so this will take you probably 7 to 10 minutes, and you should have a bulleted list of maybe anywhere from 5 to 10 different things that you're thinking of. Feel free to use the internet, or you guys that are here, feel free to use your book to to try to come up with or formulate what your opinion is, but we'll give you 7 to 10 minutes here, and then we'll let you present what you have by sharing your screen out, okay? All right, who wants to share their screen first? Thank you. Thank you. So you should be able to go up to the top there and say, share my screen within the WebEx. We can see it. Fantastic.
Okay. So the first thing, we need to follow whatever BCP is, for this. And then kind of in tandem, enact your cert team, identify the threat, isolate the threat, and then any other actions that they could take. And then concurrently, if you have a warm site, or a hot site, stand that up, have the new email server, send out information, to the constituents, with the, certain, what's right, for the storage page. If not, create a new page. Of course, if you don't have a follow website, stand up the systems for the store, email server, backup, and then same thing with Facebook, everyone, and then go to the media outlets to get the news out of the company, try to save face, doing all this and
Yeah. Have somebody fall on the sword for you, right? Whoever that huckleberry is. Yeah. So what is business continuity? Or I'm sorry, what is BCP? What about the CERT? What is that?
computer emergency response team.
Okay, good, good. So this sounds very favorable. Hoping that somebody has some sort of backups. You know, you definitely hit the nail on the head with a few of these. So great job on that. All right. Anybody want to show? Anybody else want to show? Jennifer? Thank you, Ryan. Appreciate it. Yeah, sure.
Very basic. You see it?
We see this right here. Looks like you're sharing. Yeah, it should be content. If you want to stop sharing and then figure it out. So share content, and then if you put it in like a Word doc, you should be able to say share Word doc. Standing by. Beautiful.
So, yes, very basic because, well, this is an area I lack in. So my first thing to do would be to find out where the host is for the virus, whether it is in the server on a specific computer, isolate it, contain it, restore email web server from an offsite or an offline backup that hasn't been taken. Contact the host provider for anything that they need to connect back together.
Mhm.
Contact Facebook and deal with that, which can be fun.
Yeah. Yeah.
From there, it's like Ryan was saying, contact the media to let people know that, hey, this is not us, it's been hacked, which is you know, a media relations nightmare in itself,
right?
kind of remedy, so,
Somebody's going to get their head chopped off.
yeah.
So in addition to these things that we've just discussed, I would also say probably first thing is I'm going to do is I'm going to tell my manager that something's going on, so then they don't get caught on the blind side. But you know, think about some of these people that at least in that. Thank you for doing that. Think about some of these people that are in this particular scenario where maybe they have the grassroots campaign, and it's kind of a small campaign at first, so they're on a limited budget, and then it kind of just explodes out to something that now it's going. And so in this particular scenario, there's probably a good chance that it's running on a limited budget. But if you're the cybersecurity engineer, there's a good chance that you're probably going to be the person that's in charge of everything. So the CERT team, it'd be great, but that's going to probably be you as the lead up top. So you would be the lead of that CERT team. And then underneath it, it's very likely that you're going to probably have interns underneath it in this particular case, right? And maybe not in corporate America but whatever the case may be, we definitely need to identify where it came from and then figure out how we can contain it. And we got to make sure that we notify these folks of some sort of heads up, letting them know that there's a potential. We're identifying what happened. It's not fake news. This is us letting you know that something did happen here, and we'll provide you more information as it becomes available, because you don't want those people that have made significant contributions to find out about it secondhand. In addition to that, we probably need to contact law enforcement and let them know about it, see if they could help in one way or another. And for me, that's something that typically, even if we do that, they don't have much experience in helping with cyber issues, but they are starting to get more trained on it. And social media is quite a big deal, kind of like what Jennifer was saying here with not only your Facebook account, but if you have other accounts that are out there, trying to get a compromised account back is very, very difficult. Very difficult. We had a situation where there was a celebrity, and it wasn't Facebook, it was Instagram, and she was performing. And when she was performing, some of her personal belongings, including her cell phone, were back in a dressing room. And somebody knew exactly where to look for her personal belongings, and she didn't have anybody back there protecting it or sitting in there, while she was out on stage. And this particular person, it ended up being an ex-boyfriend who came in to that dressing room, and she didn't have the phone password protected, so it was just a swipe. And somehow, some way, that particular person went on and was able to get the two-factor authentication to change it to a fake Gmail account. And from there, send all the two-factor authentication to that fake Gmail account on their phone. And somehow that person was able to hijack her Instagram account that she had a significant amount of following on. And from there, had already crafted some interesting photoshopped photos of her, and was quite compromising. So contacting law enforcement and then engaging with Instagram to try to figure out when did it happen, who did it, those sort of things is oftentimes a significant undertaking. but chances are good that something like this could potentially happen. We're seeing it more and more coming out with any of the threats and vulnerabilities that we have, and specifically attacks with ransomware. We saw, I think, a couple of weeks ago that there was something dealing with a municipality that was doing an election, and right before that they were going to publish the ballots. This is like 2 weeks ago, that the city was hit with ransomware. I don't know if it was coincidentally or what, but so this type of thing we're seeing more and more prevalent, and apropos because of the time that we're in for tomorrow. Hopefully something like this doesn't happen, so we can trust what happens with the ballots. All right, so we're going to take a lunch break here, and it'll be an hour. How about an hour and 2 minutes? So come on back at 12:35. 12:35, and if you guys online want to go ahead and share with me in the chat what you put together, I'll take a look at it over the lunch break. But come on back at 12:35, and we'll keep the dream alive here in the afternoon. Okay?
Hey, Ben.
Yeah.
Are y'all providing the spiral bound book with all the slides like in the Security Plus?
Yes, we are. Yep, we're going to be distributing those right after we get back from lunch.
Okay.
And-
On this
and
lunch
it will-
break, can I swing by the facility and pick those up?
Sure.
Okay.
And yeah, that's fine. I also will send out the PowerPoint slides as well. All right, thanks, Doug, for sharing that with me.